raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. All it is, living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, cause the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. All it is, living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, north of rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there. 15-minute late start tonight. Sorry, had to get my lawn mowed. I had to mow my lawn. But we got it done, and it's taken care of, and now we're here. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, fantastic week. It's been a slow news week, but that's okay. We had a banger of a DEF CON 0 the other night, myself and Alpha, and, we covered a lot of different topics. Scavino post and what is about to come. Something's going on here. It's just too quiet. Have you noticed this? It's just too quiet. Something is happening. Now, yesterday, we had Trump say the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There's no other solution to this problem. Thank you for your attention to this problem. He didn't say to this matter. He said to this problem. Now, the CEO of Intel is directly connected to China. And we know that there's this economic Cold War going on. And not only that, an AI Cold War going on. And these tech companies are primarily at the front and center. Now, what's interesting is that Trump posted this today, but the delta for yesterday was this guy. The resignation of CEOs. So I want you to start thinking about this, because what we have here right now is the prime setup. If you take this into account with yesterday with the Apple post and that correlating directly with what Alpha was saying with the old Q post in the context of the reflection of the Apple symbol, and that Apple has kind of been flipped, we're seeing something unprecedented, a new way to do business. And I'm going to say these words, but don't think doom and gloom, because in the current point in Frank, we have Trump in control and in power, and hopefully the MAGA revolution continues on. And either way, when the Democrat Party loses after the midterms and just demolishes itself because of Act Blue corruption, political corruption, and they're no longer going to be able to keep their base, they're too far radicalized left, that we have a new party that rises up that is also America first, but brings about a competitive framework. And the reason I say this is because the commie-fascist, technocratic, controlled one world government, new world order that the Western elites were trying to formalize had certain caveats. Those caveats were things like ESG, environmental, social, and governance. This is where you get diversity, equity, inclusion from under the social context. Under the environmental side, this is where you get the green energy revolution. Under the governance side, you get something known as PPP, public-private partnerships. I don't think people are seeing it. That's exactly what Trump is doing, is he is creating public-private partnerships with tech companies to the point of nationalization of these companies through the means of national security. This is something I pointed out with Unit 201, for instance, the new United States Army Reserve Unit, Unit 201, which is formed by OpenAI, Meta, and Palantir's chief technology officers. Now, we want to think that it's those people that are actually holding that rank of major, but it's not. It's the position itself, because the position has been nationalized for national security reasons. Think yesterday when we just heard that Apple is going to invest $400 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years, and Tim Cook signs this deal to make the screens of iPhones and iWatches in Kentucky. We get this indication that manufacturing and processing is coming back to the United States. It's leaving China. Well, that's one part of the bigger puzzle. But we have to look deeper into this. We have to see kind of what Trump is doing and why he's formulating these public-private partnerships in context, nationalizing businesses for the means of national security. It sounds scary, I know. And by the way, for everybody out there talking about Palantir, this is actually what fits directly into the Palantir equation. Number one thing about Palantir, and I will talk to anybody on this. I'll debate them on this. And I know that the CEO of Palantir is a diehard socialist. I get that. I'm not worried about that. But when you look at Palantir specifically, Palantir centralized a lot of the government data. And they removed 30 different government contractors at the same time doing that. So in essence, you're centralizing one government contractor and removing 30. And I explained this with an analogy. I much rather befriend the wild animal I know than the 30 that want to kill me. Makes sense, right? When we look at Palantir, there's also something happening in the backdrop. Something very, very big. Nobody's talking about it. There's hints towards it. I've been hinting towards it. And Only reason I've been hinting towards it is because I consult in this area of the world, and I've been introduced to what is actually happening through official means. Let's just say that. You got to remember the infrastructure of the deep state. Who is the deep state? The deep state is strategically placed bureaucrats, admirals, generals, politicians that ensure that a commercial corporate infrastructure, NGOs and corporations, hold the power above the echelon of government. The deep state operates through regulation and policy deriving through the NGOs, the think tanks, and the corporations on an international scale. So when we start talking about government contractors, the majority of them are complicit in the crimes of what we're talking about. So removal of 30 of these guys from the data of the American people and the centralization of one that maybe you can trust, Donald Trump trusts, is not necessarily a bad thing. But then also nationalizing that company through a public-private partnership, which is a Klaus Schwab World Economic Forum term. But when you do it through the means of national security, it starts to make a lot more sense in the context of trying to get control of this structure. Then on the back end of it is the beautiful thing about this is that when Trump nationalizes these companies and enshrines them with various different contracts and embellishes them with this funding that's flowing in, the $15+ trillion of funding coming in over the next 10 years, they have to pay dividends to the United States of America. And they don't pay dividends to Congress's bank account. They don't pay dividends to the Federal Reserve or pay off our national debt. They pay dividends to the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And the Sovereign Wealth Fund is for you and me. It's to fund the government at a small percentage. It is to take over Social Security down the road. It's going to be based upon asset-based economy. This is where the backing of the dollar is actually going to derive from. The dollar, digital dollar, and physical dollar, from gold, from Bitcoin, from Solana, from SUI, from rare earth minerals and metal deals for the natural resources underneath our foot, oil and gas, but then also the dividends derived from technological expansion and innovation that's going to occur over the course of the next 3 to 4 years. So we have to look at the big picture when we start to look at all this. But when we start to look at Donald Trump making these positions like this, I guarantee you're going to see the CEO of Intel resign. Because this man has immense power, and what's happening behind the scenes, and this is another part. Think about all the trade deals, tariff deals that Donald Trump's renegotiated over the past few months. The United States wins and these countries lose. Big. Why are they accepting the deals? Because Donald Trump has compromise on all of them. He has the true bullshit Epstein files that he is utilizing for leverage. Hence why he's coming out there and he's flipping back and forth. He's going to allow it to be revealed, but at the same time, he's going to use it for leverage. Now, Tammy's going to come in and we're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about technological innovation, artificial intelligence. We're going to do this in a few minutes, but I want to touch on a few things that I'm noticing because the deep state is definitely pushing back. To give you a hint, and if you can put these breadcrumbs together, I sure hope you can. What I want you to do is I want you to go back and look at that Microsoft hack that happened a few weeks ago. Then I want you to do is look at the moves that Donald Trump has made within our nuclear arsenal. We had the U.S. gravity bomb for the first time ever being moved to the UK since 2000, not the first time ever, since 2008. We have 2 nuclear submarines under the guise of Russia being deployed. We have China at the same time ramping up and saying that they're going to invade Taiwan. This is all not coincidence how it's interrelated and interconnected. And I just want people to understand that. And then the other part of that I want you to understand is artificial intelligence. That we are on the brink of a revolution in technology that is going to change the landscape of this planet forever. It is going to change how you do business, how you interact with people, how you do research, how you do your job, if you even have a job. We're going to talk about a lot of this, but a few things I want to talk about, just get the news out before I bring Tammy in here. Number one is going back to the fight against the deep state. Attorney General Ken Paxton launched an investigation into the Soros-funded PAC for unlawfully funding runaway Democrats. This is exactly what we talked about yesterday when we said that they're investigating Beto O'Rourke. And I said, hey, Soros is next. Boom, today announced Soros is next. And this is going to open up the floodgates, because what's happening in Texas with the Democrats right now is directly interconnected with FISAgate, directly interconnected with the Smartmatic lawsuit going on in Florida, the 2020 election. Today, you just saw the Trump administration put a massive bounty out on the head of Maduro, the Venezuelan president, because we are at war with them. If you don't believe me, Donald Trump's executive orders state this specifically, that they are a threat to national security, that we are at war with these cartels, with these gangs that are directly associated with Maduro in Venezuela. So all of this stuff is directly interlined with each other. Now, a few different things, Wall Street Apes, a few others are talking about this. Maybe we'll get into this just a little bit. Massive Democrat ActBlue money laundering scheme uncovered. Democrats are pretending to buy $200,000 houses, creating $200 million mortgages, then laundering the money through wire transfers. This is how we've been covering this for years, talking about ActBlue and how they do it. They're called magic mortgages. Let's imagine you buy a house for $200,000 and it's funded by one of the North American banks. We'll just say Wells Fargo. Please don't sue me. All the records, including the mortgage, the deed of trust, the ATLA insurance policy, all of those records are recorded in the county record. Just a few minutes later, your $200,000 house suddenly has $200 million magic mortgage that comes through. It's nothing but a wire that goes through the title company. There's no lender involved because it's hard money loan, what they call a cash hard loan. But because it goes through a title company, there's no notation of who the lender is, and it goes on through the system. Now, what's interesting is, this is what caught our attention. These are ActBlue officers, corporate officers. Once we found one, it led to another and another and another and another. So we have them all over the nation. And this is just one small fragment of the human map. Now, this is also included in politicians. This is also included in the Democrats primarily, and fundraising schemes. Now, if you go back, active shooter scene in New York last week, do you remember the crazy man that was going for the FBI or going for the NFL floor on in the tower, and then instead ends up at Blackstone? He shoots and kills one person, and an executive that happens to do what? Oversees various different residential mortgages at Blackstone. And I said, I bet you this is directly connected with ActBlue. Got to cover up your tracks somehow. So when we start to look at what's going on right now, there is a massive money laundering scheme, and this is just one of many that the Democrats, the deep state, and these NGOs have been doing with your taxpayer dollars, by the way, for a very long time. Now, President Trump today signed an executive order banning banks from debanking Americans over their political and religious beliefs. Now, there's ways around it, but I like the effort on Trump's behalf. AG Bondi is offering a $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. This is be interesting. It's an easy way to make some money, people. Just saying. So there was something that I want to talk about. And I can bring Tammy in once I bring this out, but I want to put this out there. Everybody I've been talking to on my crypto consultations that I've been doing has been asking me if the market's going to crash, if there's going to be a black swan event. Wall Street Apes posted this video today, and I'm just going to read it to you instead of playing the video. It goes like this. The gentleman says, me and my wife went and did a pre-approval process for a mortgage loan yesterday. And what the fuck are you talking about? We're looking at the numbers, looking at our income, looking at the credit, and they have us at $450,000. They have our mortgage after PMI, after insurance, after taxes at $4,636 a month. What the fuck are you talking about? For the average American, this is way fucking far out of reach. Interest terms in this country are out of control and should be federally illegal. A $450,000 home now costs $1.668 million after interest and fees on a 30-year fixed mortgage in America. The total cost, principal $427 plus interest $897,000, taxes, insurance, PMI $343,000, $1.668 million. You just paid $1.668 million for a $450,000 home. This is how much it costs to buy a home in one of the most affordable states in America, Texas. A few days ago, Donald Trump put out a Truth Social post saying that the numbers are rigged, talking about the job numbers. He says it's all rigged. He's been urging Powell to lower interest rates. Powell won't budge and keeps interest rates raised. Do you want to know why Powell is keeping interest rates raised? The CCP has infiltrated the Federal Reserve for the last 20 years. We've already discussed this. On the second point of that, is keeping the interest rates artificially raised is going to produce a situation which is brewing right now. Last year at the end of the Biden administration, we were on the brink of a commercial real estate collapse. In other words, the money owed on commercial real estate outweighed the money of value in the commercial real estate's property valuations. That's bad. That's very, very bad. Not only that, is the interest rates are too much for companies to go out there and take out or refinance on these commercial real estate loans. That is still ongoing, and it's just being substantiated. In other words, it's a bubble that is forming. Now, when you go to the residential real estate market, you start to see something very similar to come up. Right now, we have 1.9 million sellers, houses for sale, versus 1.5 million buyers. It's the biggest seller surplus on record, similar to the inventory spike before the last crash, 2008. You have price cuts rising. Over 20% of the listings have reductions, signaling sellers are chasing buyers down. Then you have the derivatives layers. The CME, Case-Shiller futures, MBS, REIT options still allow leverage bets on housing, which can amplify downturns like 2008. Investor retreat. Big landlords and flippers are slowing and reversing purchases, removing key sources of demand. Feedback loop risk. Price drops, MBS value erosion, tighter lending, fewer buyers, more price drops. Differences from 2008. Loan quality is higher, okay? Fewer subprime time bombs. Current stress comes from high rates and affordability shock, not immediate credit collapse. In other words, it's coming because of the inaffordable options on residential houses, the high interest rates. The derivative exposure is smaller and more visible, but the risk is still amplified. Bottom line, this is not identical to 2008, but the core dynamic, excessive supply plus leverage bets on housing and tightening credit is back. And if prices slide faster, it's the same feedback loop that caused a crash that could reactivate. So Powell keeping the rates artificially high is producing this over inventory of houses, which is drastically reducing the cost of the housing market. Okay. So you have this bubble of real estate value that is now exponentially shrinking. If you start to look at Goldman Sachs and Blackstone and BlackRock and JP Morgan Chase and their residential house purchases that they've done over the last 5 years, what happens is they become upside down on their investments and they begin to offload those. But if there's no sellers to offload, you get a market crash. Now, what would a housing market crash do to the United States economy? Well, it would begin with a housing market bubble burst, and it would begin with companies, banks like SLV back 4 years ago, going bust. They would start to overturn their mortgage bundle holdings. Smaller, and you got to remember how these work. The banks issue the mortgage and then sell them off, the paper notes. They sell them off to smaller mortgage handling companies. Those companies, the handling companies, will start to go bust, especially when there's an economic impact that allows people not to no longer pay their mortgage. This is the other part. There's still a 340% increase in the amount of mortgage foreclosures since 2020. The American people have not refilled their savings accounts and are still living paycheck to paycheck. In other words, if we had a 15 or 20% dip in the market today, this is going to produce a massive recessionary pressure on the U.S. economy, causing massive job loss and a housing market crash, which would then be rebounded in the context of international pressure So, in other words, we could easily see within the next 6 months some type of recessionary pressure into the United States if federal action is not taken. The action that needs to be taken, interest rates need to get lowered at least, at minimum, 1 to 1.5 basis points, period. If they get down to 1.5% to where your mortgage rate drops to about 3.5 to 4%, what's going to happen is you're going to have easy, cheap money. People are going to be able to go out there and refinance out of these horrific mortgages. It's going to free up capital for people to go out there and begin buying the inventory. And we will have a massive inflow of capital into the United States and a huge increase in the GDP. And instead of a recessionary bubble we would be in, we're going to have a massive renaissance. That's what Trump's pushing for. Now, I believe that the Trump administration is actually on point with this. What do I mean? Donald Trump has gone out there, and we just talked about the national security aspect of nationalization. Donald Trump has said multiple different times, if I want to be Fed chair, I could be Fed chair. He's talking about the Defense Production Act in the context of a national emergency and a financial collapse like this would declare exactly that. Donald Trump has the ability to go out there and issue the Defense Production Act, which allows him to take direct control over the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury, and through executive action, change the interest rates in the interim through executive action down to a reasonable level, which then would bring back cheap money. I think that Trump, in the next month, 30 days, is going to do something like this. I think at first he's going to fire Powell and he's going to utilize Congress to impeach him and get rid of him, or he is going to push for a repeal of 12 U.S.C. Chapter 3. At least that's my thoughts. I think that the end of the Fed is actually coming here relatively soon. A new Fed chair is going to be announced. Powell, I think, still has 2 more years, but Trump is going to get rid of him. The lawsuit that is coming against him right now for not money laundering, but for taking gifts and stuff like that is going to force him to resign. And I think that that's going to come to a head in September, October timeframe. So I think that Trump has a plan for this to avoid this massive collapse, but it's something that everybody needs to understand and see, because it is a deep state plan that could be positioned against you and me. Now, if that did happen, what happens on the other end? Well, technology is slow. I got to bring this lady in. What's up, Tammy? How we doing?
What's going on? Finally, we get our schedules to coordinate. I've been bursting waiting to talk to you.
Well, what did you think about what I just said there?
Well, I immediately thought of what is going on in Canada. So I predicted this going on in Canada. Okay, they have a product called it's a readvanceable mortgage in Canada. I don't know if we have it here. I don't think we do. Or if we do, it's something else. It's called a readvanceable mortgage. And I know so many people that have done this. It's essentially like a line of credit that's tied to your mortgage. So every time you kind of pay your mortgage down, you get a little bit more of revolving credit that opens up to you. So it's like this constant, flow.
Yeah, we have HELOCs, home equity lines of credit.
Sure, similar. But they're a little similar, but a little different. This ties directly to your house mortgage. Like it's all one. You don't have to reapply. It's not a separate payment. It's all like
endless mortgage that never ends.
Yes. So when that's been in play in Canada for a long time. But this is the thing that I saw, because they started doing the land acknowledgement in Canada a long time ago, and they also, start saying, that the First Nations people have the first right to land. And there's this big movement of culture, being a colonist and all of this stuff. Right. So I was like, oh my gosh, I saw the pieces of the puzzle kind of moving together a few years ago. And I thought, oh my gosh, what they're going to do, and this ties into like interest rates and stuff, is if the interest rates get too high, what the Canadian government, I think, will do is they'll actually buy everybody's property and then say, oh, don't worry about it. You can pay the mortgage back to us. But and they'll use the First Nations people to do it and say, you don't actually have the right to own land here. Right. And by the way, the interest rate's gotten so high and everything, all your credit and your mortgage is all tied up in one little nice little neat package. So this is what we'll do. We'll buy it out and you just make payments to us. And they'll use the First Nation, the First Nation issue to press the issue, because you're a colonist and you don't even have the right to own land. That's just my take. I was like, oh my gosh, that's why they did all those mortgages like that.
Well, do you want to know what I think they're going to do here in the United States?
What?
With all of this? So the Bank of International Settlements in 2022 put out what's known as the Unified Ledger Framework. So anybody who's talking about mBridge and CBDCs, this is what they're talking about specifically, is this Unified Ledger Framework.
Right.
And what it does is it shows the context of how central banks inter-exchange. So the interoperability, instead of the Swiss system, they use this mBridge system, but it's basically CBDCs that are transferred. And it's only utilized for the core structure of central banks to produce liquidity for the markets. On the other side is you have privatized infrastructure, allowing banks to rise up with privatized cryptocurrency networks. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get a JP Morgan coin, a JPM coin. JP Morgan's going to come out there and they're going to say, hey, we're in the midst of this housing crisis and we have all these mortgages that were issued through JP Morgan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to allow everybody who has a JP Morgan mortgage to refinance, no credit check required. The only thing you have to do is that you have to convert your paycheck into JPM coin every month, and that's how you will pay your mortgage. And your interest rate is only going to be 3%, so you can refinance 3% lower than where you're at. So it's going to be much, much, much lower. They're going to do that, and then people are going to be like, well, what can I use JPM coin for? And then JP Morgan's going to come out and say, well, we have deals with Kroger, we have deals with Aldi, we have deals with Walmart, and now you can utilize it there. And what's going to do is it's going to put people into the centralized, privatized framework of an economic system. And that's where it gets really scary.
That's a token system, essentially.
Yep.
You know, the programmable currency, the token system. And then that's when, oh gosh, well, now we can get into AI because that's...
Well, and that's, so if you look at the deep state infrastructure of what they're trying to do, of what they're trying to position in the context of staying in control with Donald Trump in office, this is the move that they're making. This is why Powell has the interest rates high. This is why the housing bubble is forming. They want the market to crash to actually bring in emergency action from the banks to position themselves directly for the launching of privatized cryptocurrencies. They come out there, they approve it through Congress, say, yeah, you can do that, no problem, through a House Joint Resolution. And then Wells Fargo and JP Morgan and HSBC issue these privatized cryptocurrency frameworks that are now acceptable anywhere in the country at the 7-Eleven, Walmart, doesn't matter, as legitimized currency. And now people have 2.5% interest rates on their mortgage. They didn't need a credit check to do it. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so happy. But then what happens when JP Morgan goes in there and programs that currency to say, hey, by the way, I see that you're only making $5,000 a month. Your mortgage is $2,500. So we are programming $2,500 a month automatically.
That's right.
Only for your mortgage. Oh, and we see that you're only spending $500 a month on food, and $150 of that is meat. So we're going to program $150 allocation for meat, $500 for regular groceries.
Yep.
And you can't spend that money for anything else. That's
right.
The system of control that they're trying to go for.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Josh. And I've seen this coming from, miles away. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, well, now that we have Trump in, it's not going to happen. And it's inevitable. And I think I was talking about this on my show, I think yesterday or maybe even today, that, he's a businessman. And a lot of people were mad in my community because he was talking about the mRNA vaccines recently and, still like taking credit for them and saying how wonderful they are. And I said, but you got to understand, this guy is like all business. It's kind of like, these AI guys. What I've been noticing, because I've been I've just been like we've been coordinating that. So down the AI hole right now, just because I'm like, why?
I feel so short. Jeez.
Why is nobody talking about the really bad effects that AI is going to bring? It's not just about losing jobs. Like, that's just the tip of the freaking iceberg, is losing jobs, right? There's all this ripple effect that's going to come in from AI. And these AI guys, they're completely compartmentalized.
Well,
and I feel like that's how Trump is with business.
So I 100% agree. And it comes about with an analogy. I was talking to a gentleman that I'm writing a book with on AI. And when you start to look at these people, they are working with data sets. Yeah. And so the more powerful you become in the world and the more influential in the context of money and resources, the more data sets that you have to operate from. which means that you lose the simplicity of understanding.
Yeah.
You lose the basic level of understanding. And this goes for AI as well. You know, the most well-rounded podcast that I actually saw, and I don't agree with the gentleman, but at least he told it how it was Mo Godot, the former ex-Google executive.
CEO,
He was as real as day on exactly what we're going to see. He goes, no, buddy. That's not how it's going to be. He goes, what job is like, we're talking about the context, how AI is going to replace jobs.
Yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg, like I said.
Yeah, and David's like, well, this is a podcast from the Diary of the AI CEO. He goes, well, no, my wife owns a breathwork business, and it's going to be human-to-human contact. He goes, oh, really? He goes, who are the people that buy that process? And he goes, well, you know, accountants and CPAs,
engineers,
and executives. And he goes, they're all going to be out of work.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's a great podcast. He has a lot of great guests on there. But I've been exploring this idea, Josh, and follow me here. Okay. The split in our society. Okay. We are having a split in society, and one side of society is very much, you know, living in the algorithm. They're living in virtual reality. I've renamed the phone, Josh, because nobody is talking on the phone. This is a portal. Okay. And people are scrolling on the portal, and that whatever they are getting exposed to, because it's unintentional, it's their algorithm, it's being pumped towards them. It is programming their consciousness. Okay. This thing is controlling their consciousness. These people are no longer in control of their consciousness. Their consciousness is being controlled by their algorithm. That's one sect of society. And then on the other side, I feel like we have a set of people that are clinging to nature, that are clinging to, you know, the analog world, as I always say. I'm an analog girl living in a digital world, which drives me insane.
It needs to be a song.
It does.
Video killed the radio star.
Yes. This is how I feel, Josh. I feel like an alien sometimes, and I'm not alone. In my community, people are like, oh my gosh, I got so many texts. Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. You're out and about, and you're you know, interacting in public. It's not the same anymore. You speak to somebody in customer service, it's like they look at you with this kind of glazed over bot look. Like they don't know how to operate unless the algorithm tells them what to do. They can't make critical decisions.
And on top of that, the majority of the people that are doing that, what is also happening is they have increased dopamine and serotonin levels because that's what they get from their phone. So they want to pass through you. They don't care about formalities or subtleties. Nope. They just want to be as mechanistic as possible to get you through the line so they can go right back into that.
That's
because
right.
That is the new crack. That is the new heroin.
100%. And it's changing their brain. So I often cover, and I've covered several studies this week from Harvard and different universities about how this is actually changing brain matter. So it's not about like with kids. So the average right now is 7 hours a day that kids are spending on the screen. It's changing their white matter in their brain. Okay. And you know, I've said this and I've caught a lot of flack for it, that, you know, the spectrum of autism, right? I said, is it autism or is it technology-induced brain disorder? And here are the studies. It's changing their frontal cortex. It is changing the white matter in their brain because they are not being like, we are conditioned into our humanness by our parents, by the exposure that we have in the world around us. We don't read a book on how to become human. We are conditioned into being human. We follow social cues. This is how we learn. The social cues have changed. They're now getting them from the portal.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm seeing it in front of my face. I'm seeing people act differently.
I see it too. And, you know, it reminds me of a conversation with David Icke that I had a few years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was asking him about, so he had the Saturn theory, right? That the rings of Saturn were sending a signal bouncing off the moon that had this 5G control grid that was basically creating the delusion of reality. And when I was talking to him, I said, we don't need that anymore. You got a phone.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to bounce signals off of Saturn's rings into the moon, down to the earth, because guess what? You can do it directly with a phone. You can do it directly with a television. You can do it with anything in context of state. Now, here's the real kicker for everybody out there is we have this societal dilemma right now. Our humanity, who we are, our free will. This is the conversation I think we left off on before I went to the camping trip and our schedules conflicted. We couldn't get you on, was free will.
Yes.
And that free will, whatever that means to you, that critical juncture of thought combined with that internal drive for doing something has been hijacked.
Yes.
Has been hijacked. And now with that same context, this is a societal problem. But now we're going to have an exponential increase of technology over the course of the next 5 to 10 years that is going to introduce artificial intelligence to that equation.
Yeah,
we just saw the studies coming out showing that people who utilize artificial intelligence are losing IQ points. Now, this is, I think, very basal level of understanding of AI, using ChatGPT for everything that you do, doing their homework, doing their papers and stuff like that. When you use it, I think like you and I don't think that you lose brain cells. I think you actually gain it because we use it as a resource and a tool and extension of kind of our own minds in the context of things we don't know. We take it in. We can consume information a lot faster. We don't have to search through 200 pages of articles. A book. We can find that little section that we need right there.
Right.
That's kind of how we utilize AI. But when we start to look at the impact this is going to have on society, you are spot on right. We are in a bifurcation of society right now. There is a bifurcation of what you are going to have. And if people remember this analogy that I talked about, is that if human consciousness is a radio station that is being transmitted and human beings are a receiver that is picking it up, we have a bell curve that formulates where everybody is about at one. The bell curve kind of tops out at 103.5, but some people are at 99.5 and they're just right? Some people are at like 105.7.
Yes.
Well, what's happening is that on the conscious level, I think that that's actually transgressing. That's moving towards that 105.7. But what's going to happen with the introduction of AI is now you're going to have that bell curve no longer be a bell curve. It's going to be a loop-the-loop between that 99.5 and that 103.5. And you're going to see a divergence that way of human intelligence. Do you remember the movie Cloud Atlas?
Yes. Yeah.
You remember the last scenes of the movie where they're in the future and Tom Hanks is the Ebonic speaking white dude standing by the fire. And on the other side of the planet, they're highly technologically advanced because they adopted technology. That's where we're headed.
I fully agree. So check this out. There's a psychologist called, his name is Donald Hoffman. And I was listening to him on a podcast and he was talking about how he really explores this idea of how, and we've talked about this before. This is why I was so excited to talk to you tonight. How we only, like our reality is what we focus on. And if you want to bring evolution into the mix, we focus on what we're supposed to do from an evolutionary standpoint, which is reproduce. So what he is suggesting, and his research is pointing to, is that our reality is created based on what we need to do. So we're able to see only what we need to keep reproducing. Right. His hypothesis is that we actually understand 0% of reality. We don't see it. We don't see most of reality.
Is this the same study that said that if you actually perceived 100% of reality, it would kill you?
Yes. Yes. So this is what he's saying. And so I really have been drilling into this in my Naturally Inspired Moment on my show. Today I was talking about, my Naturally Inspired Moment was about your behavior patterns, right? So if your reality is what you focus on, you are running a program all the time. The problem with the portal, Josh, is it's providing the program. Yep. And we are going unconscious when we go into the portal, and we're allowing ourselves to be programmed. So once you become aware of this, though, once you're aware of this, then you can start setting intention for yourself. See, like I also like, Jason, he does a lot of digital marketing, right? So he, follows the digital marketing sphere and what's happening in there. So right now they're talking about like Gary V's a big guy in digital marketing. And he's talking about how there is no more social media. And there isn't, Josh. When is the last time? I don't see your tweets. I do not see your tweets unless I go look for them because I follow you. So what's happened, and he's a digital marketing professional. He said it's no longer social media, okay?
Social influence.
It's intended. It's attention media, right? So it's like it's where it's where you're looking at. It's intention media. Where is your intention, right? So the more you like something, the more you interact with something, your feed is going to pump out that content only whether you follow those people or not.
Yep.
So this is no longer a social media platform. It is a media platform. That's all it is.
It's a media marketing platform. That's right.
Yes.
Its whole derivation is to keep you engaged and on their eyes forward, eyes front and center.
Exactly.
Then what you have in the backdrop is the marketing context of it, which takes in behavioral analytics. It takes in adaptive analytics. It takes in geographic analytics, and it compiles that into what's known as an egg. And then what that does is that formulates a back-end algorithm that formulates various different ads that are going to be portrayed to you. And they know exactly how your indices actually operate to the point where they know which ones to put in front of your eyes. They know which ones to put in your peripherals. And they know how to word it correctly to actually get you to click and engage emotionally. And this is one of the main – and we have to move off of that system.
Oh, yeah. So 62% of America's economy is based on consumerism. That's what it's based on, right? We go all the way back to like Edward Bernays when he decided to implement consumerism and convinced Americans that they should buy out of want instead of need. That transformation totally changed our economy. Instead of one pair of shoes, we started buying 10 pairs of shoes because you want them. And you should buy it if you want it. So that changed our economy into consumerism, right? So now what we have online in the portal is just a way to sell every day. And the way they monetize that, of course, like you said, is your time. So people like Gary Vee and these digital marketers, what they are trying to do now is to be able to meet your need of wanting to see what you want to see. And by the way, you don't want to see things that necessarily improve your life. You want to see things that make you comfortable. Okay? And that's the difference between you setting an intention every day with based on the results that you want out of your life and you being fed through the portal, staying comfortable. There's a difference there because if you have goals and aspirations and you want to achieve something, you better be setting your own intention. Because when you go through the portal, it's going to keep you comfortable. So you stay on there and it's going to market to you. And he is talking about the merger between creatives and corporations, right? Which of course we see. And who's the biggest demographic that's targeted of that? Teenage girls on TikTok. They are running the music charts right now to the point where you see Machine Gun Kelly, who is all tatted up, and he was supposed to be Mr. Rapper, tough guy, whatever. He's doing a bubblegum pop song now because guess who's the #1 download or purchaser is a teenage girl. So it's shaping art, it's shaping culture in that way through music and whatnot, and it's all based on consumerism. So I'm not usually a predictor of things, but I can see this kind of coming together where the social media platforms actually fall apart and we enter into a virtual reality where people spend most of their time, like a virtual mall, where you actually have to go in through your digital avatar and you will be approached by people and there will be laws inside of that's the metaverse concept, right? So the portal will go away eventually to be replaced by goggles, as Mo says in that podcast, right?
Well,
he's saying you're medicated.
Meta glasses. They already have the meta glasses. They just they're coming to market in the 6 months, the contact lenses.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen the contact lenses.
So you're going to have an augmented reality.
Yeah, because the more they blur that line between virtual and reality, the more that people start living in the virtual reality. And they've already proven that it's possible. So me and Jason went off the rails on this discussion because we started talking about how, COVID, right? The virtual reality was in China, people were dropping dead. And on CNN, there was a death count, just ding, 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 along the bottom, right? That was driving people's actions, their fear. But when you went outside, I didn't see anybody dying in the grocery store. I didn't even know anybody that was sick.
So did you know back in 2023, I started a project, a docuseries that I was going to do called The Slave Matrix on exactly this?
Really? I did not. You have all these little hidden projects I don't know about.
I do that I don't finish a lot of them just because I get so damn busy. But the idea behind it is this, is that the phone you said equals a portal, or the phone equals a program. The phone equals the matrix.
Yes.
And that's what it really comes down to. And, if we look at kind of predictive analytics, if we just kind of project this out 10 years, what you are going to see is this. A whole new 1%. The modern middle class that survive what's coming are going to be the new 1%. And there's going to be 1% of the 1%, which are going to be so ultra wealthy, you're not going to be able to touch them.
Yeah.
That other 99% are going to be UBI, Universal Basic Income, wards to the state. Now, Mo actually talked about this, and he asked the host, he said, have you seen Elysium with Matt Damon?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
He goes, you have the ultra wealthy living on the moon. And what ended up happening in their society is that everything became automated. AI became so grandeur that they just turned UBI off. They no longer needed to support them on the planet because they were no longer part of it. And people got more and more poor, and they structured for jobs, and they had to create basically every state and every country was a slave state.
Yes.
To encamp the human beings living on it. And when you start to look at it from this perspective, we are heading down that route. Now, I hope with Donald Trump that they know what they're doing. I hope that the right moves are being made. I talked about this at the beginning of the show in the sense of what the precautions that he's taking with these companies. He's nationalizing them through directions of national security, right? So you have Unit 201. Have you heard of this one?
No, I haven't.
So Unit 201 is a United States Army Reserve unit. It's comprised of the CTO, Chief Technology Officer of Meta, Palantir, OpenAI. As in, those board seats, those executive board seats are now under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, are now majors in the United States Army, will always be majors in the United States Armies. In other words, the United States government, DOD, owns parts of those companies. And everything they do is scrutinized through national security. So now I know you're like, oh, but
less,
actually,
more government's terrible.
Well, I agree. But when we look at it from the context of what's happening, it makes a lot of sense that you have to take those precautions.
Yes,
like
we
that
do.
When we are talking about China, if China gets ASI, we're all fucked.
Yeah.
If China gets ASI, it's game over. So when we start to look at it from this perspective, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And that's what I've been saying this whole time. This is, people are like, why aren't they doing more? It's like, you look at your country like a business, because that's what it is. When you focus on that and you realize this is a business that has a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders, then it makes a whole lot more sense. It's not about your feelings. It's not about, being patriotic. None of that anymore. We sold out a long time ago. It's a corporation and it's being run as such. And that's what I think with blinders when I'm talking about Trump is like, he's all business. He has to be, because the race to AI is what is most important to all of these guys right now. Being first. Larry Ellison said it. Eric Schmidt has said it. It's all about being first. You got to be first in the AI race. If you're not first, you're last.
said something as well. He says there's two scenarios that occur with the AI revolution that's happening right now. You're either going to have mutually assured destruction or you're going to have mutually assured prosperity.
That's right.
And he goes, the context of how that happens.
The nuclear type of scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
But he said how that happens is dependent upon not you, but these businesses and how they operate and what their methodology of greed versus human involvement is.
Yeah.
Like you start looking at Elon. I mean, does Elon really want to be a trillionaire or give a shit about more money? I really don't think he does. I don't think he cares. I think what he wants to do is he wants to advance humanity. I think he wants fucking killer technology, not bad kills things, but like awesome technology.
Yeah.
Let's go to space.
He's an adventurist.
That's right. So the AI that Elon will develop is going to be made for mutually assured prosperity.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that Sam Altman, who was a nonprofit, then went private corporation worth hundreds of billions of dollars, is going to be one for mutually assured destruction.
Dude, he's a bot. I mean,
well, look at his name. Look at his name.
I know. Sam Altman. I know. And he's a bot. He's exactly what I was trying. I totally.
God has a sense of humor.
It's exactly what I was talking about. If you look at his glazed over eyes, like a lot of these guys are so sucked into the algorithm that they don't have the same consciousness anymore, you know? And I've been talking about now there's a digital revolution. You know, they talk about the biological revolution in these AI talks that we've been listening to. The biological revolution, they all agree, according to Larry Ellison, they all agree that when the biological revolution happens, that's when AI really kicks off. And the biological revolution, look that up, Josh.
Oh, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
So this is the front of a lot of my research with Epstein. So, see, nobody knows this.
Spill it.
Nobody knows this. I've been yelling and screaming about this. I told people back in March, I said, you're not going to see the Epstein files. Everybody's like, why are you not going to see the Epstein files? And I said, because what's in the Epstein files is not what you think.
It's not about the sex trade.
So so when we start to understand the pedophilia and the sex trade, that is a small portion of Jeffrey Epstein's business. Jeffrey Epstein was a procurer of people, period. What he did is he had a target, professors, university-level PhDs, scientists, politician, member of a big corporation, world government, doesn't matter. That was his target, and his objective was to either get compromise on that people to utilize him for his own agenda, of which he was working with other globalists in a network to accomplish. Now, the missing children. You remember when Donald Trump talks about Hillary Clinton, it takes a village, and she took a whole village in Haiti?
Yes.
These weren't children that were brought into human trafficking. That's the big misconception. They're being brought into biomedical research with artificial intelligence.
Agreed.
Southern Trust Company, the New Albany Company. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein had two companies, Southern Trust and the New Albany Company. One was with Lex Wexner, and the headquarters just happens to be on a Caribbean island owned by Google, directly next to one of their AI DeepMind data centers. Now, what was Jeffrey Epstein doing with these two companies? He was mining DNA data from low, underprivileged children, third world children throughout the world in Africa and in the Caribbean. In other words, why would he need this DNA information? And then why was he also procuring the children for biomedical research like what he was doing at Zero Ranch? Here's what we have to understand. When we start to take artificial intelligence, and let's just say we have quantum AI like Google does, and it's already achieved AGI, and we're starting to feed DNA information into it, and it's completely deciphered the human genome. It can go out there. It knows blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes. It knows, height, and it can do all of these things. The ability for it to modify a fully grown adult human being with the oxidative stress to the cellular structure and to the mitochondrial DNA or to your actual DNA that has telomere damage is very, very difficult. So in order to practice that, to perfect that science, you have to work on somebody who has basically virgin DNA. What I mean by that is not a lot of oxidative stress, not a lot of DNA damage, which is going to be children.
Right. Oh my gosh! But this is multiple streams of income. This human trafficking stuff, because I just covered this about little boy circumcision as well. This is a whole industry under circumcision. It is. They use it for biomedical research. They use it for stem cells. They use it for it's got fibroblasts in it that are super powerful. Yes, same thing. Abortion industry. Exactly. And it's all hidden right in the front of the stage. It's all about women's rights. It's all on the front of the stage. We want your women's rights. And people get all amped up about that. They're being led when behind the stage, this is a gazillion-dollar industry, right? And it all leads into biomedical research. Same with circumcision. It's assumed knowledge. A lot of people have no idea why we do it, and they tell you it's a medical reason. It's not a medical reason. There is no medical reason to do that. But they're harvesting the fibroblasts, and they're putting them. Yeah.
Let's go into the one podcast.
Okay.
Remember when David Sinclair was talking with what's his name, Peter? He's a member of the World Economic Forum scientific board. He's a doctor. But anyways, David Sinclair, Harvard University, PhD. He's doing all the longevity science.
He's solving death. It's Peter Diamandis.
Diamandis, thank you.
Yeah.
David Sinclair, if anybody doesn't know, I mean, it's truly a fascinating human being.
Creep, though.
He's 60 years old, and he looks like he's about 35. He's been doing these trials on himself. What they've done is they've been able to take a form of stem cell and inject it into a mouse and completely reset all of the cells in the mouse's body back to any age they want. If they want to go back to 15, they can go back to 15. If they want to go to 25, they can go to 25. And they've done this. He said, he's talking to Peter Diamandis, and he says, we've done this 5 times in a row. And he goes, well, why did you stop there? He goes, because we just wanted to stop there. We could have kept on going. And I want people to understand what that means is that when you're 80 years old, there can be an extraction of stem cells that's injected into you, a cocktail that you take for 3 months. And after 3 months, your cells rejuvenate back to 25 years of age. That's what they're doing at Harvard right now. And they start human test trials in 12 months. But here's the kicker. How do they do it? Well, what they do is they take your stem cells and they make a clone of you. They bring it to a 24-month-old fetus, and then they extract the stem cells from that fetus as it's held in cryogenic state.
Yeah.
What?
What could go wrong, Josh? I mean, solving death, solving aging, these two, this is what I'm talking about when the compartmentalization takes place, where they're not thinking about the broad spectrum of life here, right? Yeah. What does life, not to get too philosophical on you, but what does life mean when there is no death anymore? What does it mean?
Well, but Tammy, you have to go back and understand the globalist agenda now.
Yes, the one race, the perfect human living forever.
The eugenic and depopulation agenda, all of the abortion,
62.5
million over the last 50 years. Why was that agenda pertinent? Because they knew the technology that was coming in the future. They understood that they're going to crack aging, they're going to reverse it, and that you don't want 9 billion people living forever.
And look at Canada and their medical assistance in dying. They're giving that to 12-year-olds now. From what I hear, they're giving it to 12-year-olds. They're giving it to people who can't afford rent. They're giving it to people with, quote, mental illness. You tell me, Josh, okay, because I'm from the era where when you were mentally ill, you weren't sound to make your own medical decisions. You usually had to have a medical guardian to make decisions for you because you were declared mentally ill. Now they're letting you kill yourself when you're mentally ill. We used to say suicide was a mental illness. Now we've completely moved. Anything goes because of the depopulation agenda.
I took my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, to the doctor the other day for a 12-year-old checkup. So 12-year checkup, and then she had to get physical for sports.
Did they boot you out?
They did. They said, hey, can you step outside real quick? I'm like, for what? And they're like, oh, we have to ask her a few questions. I said, maybe it's like the female thing, you don't want any in here when they're asking about the menstrual, all that. Like, no problem. I listened through the door.
They ask her about sex and stuff?
They were asking her, does your anybody at home hurt you? Do they hit you? Do they SA abuse you? All of this stuff. They started asking her really deep personal questions. And I'm sitting there going,
when do I go in?
Is this legal?
Yeah.
Like I'm her guardian.
Yeah.
Like she cannot, but so I was talking to someone else and they said, yes, that's state law and federal law mandated that they must do those screenings. And I'm like,
mental health screenings are coming to school. Illinois just passed it.
Every school has a social worker directly from the county there. They didn't have that shit when I was in high school.
No, but this is different. This is Pritzker. He comes from a medical, pharmaceutical invested family, and he's implementing a deep mental health evaluation for children now, grades 3 through 12. They're the first state to do it in this fashion in Illinois. And what do you think that's going to be, Josh? That's going to be a pill mill. Because, your kid has ADD. And if you don't medicate them, well, now you're going to be investigated.
Do you want to know what that's also going to lead to? Indirect targeting of Christians and conservatives.
Oh, yeah.
So they will utilize the children. They will push leverage. They will say that, through a psychological evaluation, we found that there is trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder because of abuse by the parent. And that parent gets arrested. The children get taken away, put into CPS protection, and that'll only target conservatives and Christians.
I'm telling you, get your kid out of school. Get your kid out of school. Really, it is something, do it now. I think
what's it going to be like when the AI is doing the evaluations?
Well, there will be, exactly, because there'll be no fighting with an AI. They couldn't possibly be wrong. On my show today, we covered a physician outside in his car. I felt like he was like hiding because he wanted to make this video. But he was saying, listen, AI is already here. I'm getting patients come in and they're asking me such complex questions because they've already used chat to figure out what's going on with them. He said, it's taking over.
Oh, the doctor that said that AI knows more than me.
Yes, the AI knows more than me. And so I told everybody years ago, these doctors who were going along to get along, working for the hospital system, working for the corporation, going along with the protocols of, remdesivir and ventilation, which was killing people. And then they're like, well, I'm just doing my job. Where's your loyalty to the corporation? You should be loyal to the people because you're not going to have a job, dum-dum. You're not going to have a job. And here we are 3 years later.
You go to the context of social influence, right? That if you had a doctor that actually went out there and took care of their patients and gained their loyalty and trust, they're the doctors that aren't going to lose their patients.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's with my consulting, Josh. I have a text line, a priority text line. And when people are working through issues, they text me directly and I help. I walk along, I don't give medical advice. I got to say that, but I do walk alongside people when they're trying to discover what's actually going on with them. And I'm a researcher and a detective of sorts, a health detective. And together we get down to the bottom of what's causing the issue. But they have direct access to me and we go back and forth and we problem solve together. Doctors aren't doing that. And that's the future. That's the future, right? Having a researcher alongside you to figure this out. What questions do I ask? The information is there. It's always been there. You can go on the NIH website and look up whatever you want to look up. And there's been a study about it. You can go to the Harvard EDU site. All of their stuff is transparent. You can look at all that stuff is available. It's just that people don't have the time to be their own doctor, right? Because in the past and now, if you know how to ask the right questions, you can get down to your answer pretty quickly. And that's what's happening there. So I think it's so ironic because, during COVID, I was heavily censored. I was attacked. I was told I was a tinfoil hat. I was a dummy. You're not a doctor, all this stuff. And even had some physicians tell me, don't confuse your Google degree with my medical degree. I was like, wow, actually, we can because ours is better. And I've always said that, though. I've always said that the way we're going to get answers to disease, Josh, and to our medical issues is through loving people who are trying to save their loved ones. Because when you are hyper focused on getting a solution to your loved one's health problem, you're way more qualified than that doctor who sees 12 people a day and is influenced by what he's seen that day. If you go into your doctor, and this happened to us, actually, when my son was injured by a flu vaccine, we went to the physician's office that morning and she took a look at him and said, oh, hand, foot, mouth, because she had seen hand, foot, mouth 3 times that day. Guess what? It wasn't hand, foot, mouth. It was thrombocytopenia, and my kid was bleeding out. And she missed it. She missed it because she was influenced by the patient she had seen before. Right. So I'm not ripping on doctors. I love doctors, and most of them got into medicine because they wanted to help people, but the system doesn't allow for that, because it doesn't give you the time or the ability to actually drill down what's going on with someone at a cellular level. It stays on the surface. It doesn't treat root cause. And so that's why the system's going to completely collapse. We're going to see an overhaul of it. Some of it's going to be really bad. Some of it's going to be good because, we're going to be able to take some of our freedom back with this access to knowledge. Like this physician said, people are coming in and asking me the weirdest questions that are way, I've been in medical school for years, and they're asking me questions, that I don't know at this point. It doesn't make them bad doctors. It just makes them less focused on what that particular patient needs. And so this is how we're going to come up with a lot of solutions, is people who love other people who are desperate and they have the time and the focus to find the answer. That's how we're going to cure a lot of things. Oh, I lost you. You're muted. Is it you or is it me? Okay. Yeah. So I just think that we're in a really precarious time, but I'm excited about some of the things that are going to come out of it because we have so much more access to information and whatnot now. But it's going to be an incredible time to be alive. That's to say the least. An incredible time to be alive.
I'm back.
Yay. That Mo Gawa talked about how, was it Mo? No, it was the other guy. It was David Sinclair too. He was making some pretty brash claims, with curing Alzheimer's and all this stuff in his lab. Apparently, I don't know. I got some like used car salesman vibes a little bit.
Well, when you start to look at their research that they're publishing, it's legitimate. Right? Like, yeah, aging is not what we thought it was. It's an illness and it's curable. It's oxidative stress that occurs within the DNA to basically cause it to degrade over time, to produce less efficient, less optimized cells, and that's called aging. And they found a way to reverse it. And he found more than just one way to do that. Yeah. And that one way that we talked about is a little bit of extreme, but it's quick, it's fast, and it's efficient. Mm-hmm. And, I want people to know that in 5 years from now, one of the reasons I think Donald Trump is taking credit for the mRNA vaccine is because he knows what comes next with that technology. Yeah. Is that the technology that AI is first going to be utilized to create and develop is going to be mRNA technology. It's going to be medical-based technology in the context that you go to a doctor. It's not even a doctor. It's a fucking AI. Mm-hmm. You go in there. You submit a sample of your DNA. Within a minute and a half, it's going to spit out all these different options. Increase your age by 20 years. The lifespan by 20 years. Turn your hair back to dirty blonde. turn your eye color blue, whatever you want. You're going to go in there. You're going to boom, 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 select what you want. It's going to come back up on the next screen. It's going to go financing options, $143,000 financing options, $1,000 over the next so many months, blah, 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 at this % interest. You're going to hit accept. It's automatically going to be directed and attached to your bank account, taking out the deposit. Yes. You're not going to have to do anything. And then the next step it's going to do is it's going to give you medicine printed right there, right in front of you. And you're going to open it up and it's going to say, take this 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks. And boom, you'll have everything that you just talked about. That is 5 to 10 years from now. That is going to be the fucking world we live in.
Yeah, and I listened to a old talk by a lady with Renee Wegzener. I always get her last name mixed up, but she was working at DARPA, and then she became the head of ARPA-H, which is the health DARPA essentially. And she gave a TED talk, and she said, very soon we're going to be living in the space where you ask someone, "What genes are you on?"
Well, did you see the latest commercial from American Eagle?
Yes.
The girl?
Yes.
She has really good genes.
It's all predicted.
They're starting to
program you. That's right. It's totally true. And then, of course, everybody makes it about race because everybody's conditioned about race. It ain't got nothing to do with race. That's not what they're programming you for. You too can look like Sydney Sweeney.
That's right. And they're doing that on purpose because you know what? They are priming the consciousness to begin to understand because it's coming. It is
absolutely
coming. Like if you go back to 2013 and you start watching various different Amazon Prime TV shows, maybe they're
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. They're wearing masks in the subway.
Yes.
Priming people.
Yeah, so that brings us to this idea of the component of seeing it in a movie, right? Which also gives you a little bit of disillusion. Like I feel like some people actually do this with the Bible. There is biblical stuff going on right now, but because of the way it's written in the text and the way it's been fed to us over the years, people don't recognize it in reality, modern day. It's like, this is exactly what's happening, and you don't see it because you're expecting, a white robe, or you're expecting this older type of language or something. Like, it's like our brains can't resolve it. We can't come to a conclusion with it because it's in a book, it's in a movie, but it's happening right now. And I almost think that's a component of the predictive programming. Yeah, it primes your brain for it, but it also puts separation between it. Like, oh, that's a movie, so it can't be happening in real life.
Well, as our good friend David Whitehead would say, welcome to Earth season 2025. Yeah. It's going to be epic. And it absolutely is. And I mean,
oh, poor David. I feel so bad for him right now because he's over there in Canada and they just banned people from the woods in Canada. You can't go in the woods in Canada. Even though it totally looks green and lush, you might start a fire. So everybody's banned from the woods.
We should get a 3-way show, me, you, and him.
We should. That'd be fun.
I haven't talked to him in months, and
yeah, I haven't either. But I always sport him on Twitter, on X, and stuff. And I'm always like, poor David. Gosh, that's gotta be terrible over there.
Well, Tammy, we gotta do this more often. Every Thursday, let's just try for it, guys. What I want you to do is I want you to get your portal phones out, your matrix phones, and I want you to text 720-303-8868. Text 720-303-8868. That's Tammy's cell phone. You can text her all different types of questions. They will get them answered. Or you can go out there and visit redpills.tv/NIP, Naturally Inspired Podcast, Naturally Inspired Radio now, but NIP is the moniker that we use for them. So redpills.tv/NIP, or you can text that number. Go and give her a visit and a follow. Oh, Tammy, what's your X account so everybody can go follow you up there?
Oh, that'd be awesome. My X account is in dire need of followers, let me tell you. It's Tammy Cuthbert Garcia. So Tammy Cuthbert G is my handle. You can find me on there. And yeah, follow me because I follow everybody back. That's the way my mama raised me.
Right.
Unless you're some kind of bot account. Then yeah, I see in the comments someone said, tell Jason we said hi. I will. He loves the Red Pill community. Has a great time chatting with them in the comments and whatnot. That's it. Thank you.
Yep. And just search Tammy Guthrie Garcia right there, and you'll be able to find her X account, because we got about 500, 600 people watching on X right now. So hopefully they can go out there and give you a follow. Hit her up, people, and then go ahead and text that number 720-303-8868. And we're going to continue this every time that Tammy comes on. We're going to continue to expand this conversation because it keeps on adding into it. And guess what, people? Diary of the AI CEO, he was talking to Mo Gadog about this, and he said, people are asking me why every show that I'm doing just happens to be about AI these days. And the point is that nobody understands it.
That's right.
Every time that you talk about it, more questions arise.
That's right. And we need to be here for each other for support.
Yeah.
Like this is the biggest thing that has ever happened to humanity.
I would say like the second biggest. I think Jesus was one of the biggest things. But I would say that Adam and Eve being created, and Jesus, those are the biggest things. But this is like the biggest technological milestone in the history of humanity.
Exactly. And
at least from what we can remember.
From people comparing it to the Industrial Revolution, it does not compare because the speed and intensity is completely different. It is completely different. And the social ramifications for it are immeasurable. Yeah, you can't measure them.
There's going to be massive damage, but then there's going to be also on the other side, the inverse of that. There's going to be massive good that comes from it. And what we can only hope is what Mo was actually talking about is that we have, mutually assured prosperity, that these companies realize that, hey, we got something here that can change the entire world. People no longer have to work for free. Let's create a meritocracy of a system to where it's beneficial for each other and humanity. And let's build this. Yeah. And that's what we can hope for with all of this.
I think if we can recognize our higher consciousness as well, that's going to take us a long way. We can I truly believe, Josh, that we have the capability. God made us whole. He made us we're miracles here. We're biological miracles. We are God's creation, but we don't tap into a fraction of our consciousness and what we're capable of. If we actually seek out creating, attaching ourselves to our higher faculties, I think we can elevate above and stay on a different plane from AI instead of having to merge with them with AI. Like these tech people think we have to merge with them. I think we can elevate ourselves in our humanity through our consciousness and our higher faculties, and we can stay above it because we have something it doesn't have. We have our humanness.
100%. Oh my goodness. So we need to write a book. We need to take like these last 6 podcasts that we did,
turn them into a book. I know.
Yeah, turn it into a book.
I know.
I'll do that.
And I'll just keep sending you stuff. Keep sending me stuff, and we'll hash it out here on Thursday nights. It sounds good to me. It's therapy.
Yeah, it is. And for anybody who doesn't know, we text each other all the time. Like, have you seen this one? She's like, I just finished it. And I'm like, oh my God, we got a lot to talk about. And,
exactly.
The interesting thing is that this is my biggest problem with it. This is my biggest problem with it. I don't feel that the people who are bringing about this revolution are intellectually or spiritually competent enough to deal with the situation.
Exactly.
Actually give us the right information. It goes back to that data set model. When you're at that 40,000 foot view of these people, the business-minded people, the corporate structured-minded people, and you're looking down at all of these various different data sets of AI's impact, social, economic, so forth, you don't have the mental capacity to see the things of how it's going to affect the everyday person. And this is why these conversations are so important.
Exactly. Their body, Josh. They're botty, B-O-T-T-Y. They're like bots, and they're missing that human component. And that's what freaks me out, because they don't talk about the ripple effect of how it's going to impact things like consciousness and spirituality and even our own frequency, our human frequency. It's being interrupted every day, inundated with EMF. And what does it mean when we merge that EMF into our actual biological beings, which is what they want to do? Do we lose consciousness at that point? Like our spirituality, our ability, does it affect the God gene? Like these are questions these types of people don't give a shit about.
Well, what is going to shock a lot of people is that just like, so do you know how anesthesia works and anesthesiologist operates?
Yeah.
You have different sectors in the brain and they all oscillate in harmony. And what anesthesiologists do is they go out there and they take one of those sectors or two of those sectors and they bring them out of harmony, which then disconnects consciousness.
Yep.
They can do that electromagnetically.
And where do you go at that point? You know, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this about them, you know, researchers understanding 0% of reality. Where are you when you're unconscious?
Well, are you unconscious or are you just conscious of something else?
Exactly. Are you conscious of something else? Because your reality is where you focus.
Right.
And evolution would say that you focus on reproduction, and that's your whole agenda for being here.
That just brought in a whole delineation of thought. I have to write that one down. Focus, unconscious. Hopefully it brings it back up. Okay, cool. Well, guys, we got to get going. We typically do a Q&A on Thursday nights. I'm reserving this for tomorrow night. So tomorrow night we will do the Q&A. Probably reason being is that we're already 15 minutes into the Q&A. I only had an hour tonight, so I don't want to take out on the full hour of time. We'll do the Q&A tomorrow night after. I believe tomorrow's going to be a Conversations on the Fringe. We will do a Daily Dose if there's breaking news, but tomorrow definitely Conversations on the Fringe. Please go and text Tammy 720-303-8868. The number is right there. Go give her a follow on X at Tammy Cuthbert G, and that's CUTHBERTG after Tammy on X. And then also, if you want to go follow her, check out her Substack, redpills.tv/NIP. Tammy, appreciate you coming on with me tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Josh. I just want to say, too, I do a free 30-minute consultation, too. So you can book a consultation with me just by texting me with that number, and you get 30 minutes of my time. Let's get you straightened out.
Awesome. All right, guys. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks so much. Good night, Red Pillars.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not